It is about probability models. All right. Basically, it's two-way frequency tables. And you got to be careful with these so you know what you're doing when. Okay? Because if you look at this frequency table right here, you could ask, out of the people who passed the test, how many took the class? Okay. So 32 out of the 50. Okay. Compared to other people who took the class, how many total are there? Well, that's 32 out of 80, and so on. So you got to know which total, because there's all these different totals that you could go out of depending on how you ask the question. Okay. So taking driver's ed, not taking driver's ed. Okay. If you took driver's ed, then 32 of the 50 who passed it took driver's ed. 18 of the 50 who did not take driver's ed passed. So only 7 failed if they took driver's ed. 23 failed if they didn't, and so on. Okay? So you just have to look at the way they ask the question on a two-way frequency table to figure out what they want. Okay. The table of data shows about student involvement in extracurricular activities at a local high school. What is the probability that a randomly chosen student is female who is not involved in extracurricular activities? So, females not involved in extracurricular activities are right here. What's the probability that you're just choosing them out of everybody? Well, that would be 120 out of 156, or 23.3%. Now, if we ask it slightly different, what's the probability, being that somebody's a female, that they're not involved in a school activity? If I said, being that they're not a female, what's the probability of a female being in a school activity? Well, if we're just then talking about only the females, it'd be 120 out of 259, not 120 out of 516. So it depends how the question is asked, which numbers you use. The two-way frequency table at the right shows the number of male and female students by grade level on the prom committee. What's the probability that a member of the prom committee is male who is a junior? Okay, so given that they're a junior, what's the probability that the person is a male? Well, that would be 3 out of 7. Okay, 3 out of 7. Now, if they just ask what's the probability that the member of the prom committee is a male, would be 6 out of 12. Okay, but they said a male who is a junior, so then you got to just look at the juniors. Okay, conditional probability is, you'll see this with the line in it. The probability of event B given that event A. Okay, so you have to look at these people and then figure out that probability. Okay, so you look at all the totals of A and then you look at B. So for this one, respondents of a poll were asked whether they were for, against, or had no opinion about a bill before the state legislature would increase the minimum wage. What's the probability that a randomly selected person is over 60 years old, given that the person had no opinion on the bill? Okay, so if it's given this, we're looking at just these. Okay, not these totals or not these, just these. The over 60 is right here out of the 100. So when it says given this, okay, then we're just looking at these. Okay, so what's the probability that a randomly selected person is between 30 and 45, given that they're in favor? Okay, so given that they're in favor is over here. So you're going out of 780 between 30 and 45 would be 200. So it'd be 200 out of 780, and you'd reduce that down. A company has 150 sales representatives. 2 months after a sales seminar, the company vice president made a table of the relative frequency based on sales results. What's the probability that someone who attended the seminar had an increase of sales? So, of those that attended the seminar, how many had an increase of sales? So you take the 0.48 divided, I would take the 0.48 divided by 8. Somebody with a calculator, take 0.8 divided by 8. So that would be 0.48 divided by 0.8. 0.6. And then, so the probability that if they attended the seminar, their sales would increase, it would be 0.6. Okay, 60%. All right, let's go to what you'll see on the worksheet. All right. So, using a two-way frequency table to calculate the probability that a person is a Democrat given that they support an issue. So, given that they support the issue, so we're just looking at this column. What's the probability they're a Democrat, which is this number? So it'd be 23 out of 58, and you'd reduce it down to the nearest hundredth. Okay? You can do that without a problem. Use a two-way frequency table to find the probability that somebody is a 7th grade boy. A 7th grade boy is right here. Do they say given anything there? And the answer is no. So that's out of everybody. So unless they say given something, that's out of everybody. So it's 6 out of 50. If you're supposed to simplify your answer, that's 3 out of 25. The probability somebody is a 7th grade boy is 3 out of 25. Find the probability a randomly selected person is liberal given that they have attended college. So out of those who have attended college, what's the probability that they're liberal? So that's 15 out of, well, they don't give us a total, so we have to add them up. 15 and 11 is 26. 26 and 27 is 53. 15 out of 53. The table shows the relative frequency of treatments that a veterinarian gave to dogs and cats during a week. Based on this information, what's the probability that an animal chosen at random is a dog, given the treatment with shots only? Given it with shots only, what's the probability is a dog? So it's 0.35 divided by 0.70. Well, if I know my math, I bet it's 0.5. And finally, what's the probability of being a freshman? Well, how many freshmen are there? 8 total out of the 48. 8 out of 48, which is 1 out of 6. Okay? So there's a whopping 5 questions on your worksheet today. So you will have no problem getting this done.